It is the day after the FOMC, and we are seeing some of the fallout in the crypto and TradFi markets. We're going to get into that. We're going to discuss this newest data out of the US and out of Europe. New Zealand's in a recession, but everything's fine, right? As we get going today, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets, but please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kev, we were on the show yesterday talking about, Powell's hawkish dove. I don't even know. Like, he was just kind of very vanilla yesterday. We saw the TradFi markets spike up near the end of the trading day and the crypto markets spike down. So it's a really interesting time to parse between the two. There's the decoupling, it would seem, is starting to happen, and not in the way that crypto traders were hoping. We have a lot of data to discuss as well. How are you feeling about the markets, in the fresh light of day after one day after Powell spoke? Where are you at with things?
Pretty much the same, I feel. There's a lot of stuff when we're looking at some of the charts for TradFi versus crypto where it's obvious why we're decoupling. For TradFi, we'll say, seems a little bit more irrational than crypto at the moment, which is kind of a weird thing to say, right? Because obviously there's a lot more money pulled into it, but for the most part, it's just, I don't know. TradFi is just, I didn't expect it to be green today. Like, that's just my honest opinion. I didn't expect to see a green day to start off. It was a little bit red at the beginning, but now we're for the Dow fucking up 231 points. So it's definitely a positive day in TradFi, but for crypto, I don't know. It seems like crypto is actually going the way that the market should be for the time being. And it's really interesting to see how that's the one that's leading that charge.
Yeah, I would have been less surprised. I would have been surprised if we hadn't seen that spike up in the end of the day. Like, if you looked at the charts yesterday for pretty much every stock within the last 15, 20 minutes, there's a quick little wick up there. And so it didn't seem too surprising to me that we started the day in the green. How long that will last, I'm not really sure. But yeah, crypto just took a nasty dump yesterday. We see Bitcoin. It's back over. It's kind of seesawing between 25. The bears and the bulls are kind of at a tug of war right now. ETH down under 1650. Where did that wick down to? That took a nice dump. It's touched 1620 and it bounced off of that. So we're seeing alts getting beat up. Bitcoin dominance is at 49.16. So a lot of interesting stuff there. But let's talk about some of the data that came out first. I think the biggest news was out of Europe. The European Central Bank raised rates 25 basis points to 3.5%. President Christine Lagarde expecting another rate hike of 25 basis points in July. Looks like the probabilities over there are thinking that they're going to get up to 4% at some point. Europe had to take a different path than the US due to the war in Ukraine and how much closer they were to that. So they've had to wait longer to raise rates, even though their inflation has been really bad as well. So inflation is very persistent over there. Let's talk about some data here in the US. We skipped over this yesterday because we were focused on J Powell, but PPI actually came in, producer price index. So what producers are paying came in at negative 0.3% versus negative 0.1% expected. So that is a positive. We'll see if it gets revised. Initial jobless claims today came out at 262,000 versus 245,000 expected. 262 is the same number as last week. And that kind of helps, the Fed's case a little bit. And then retail sales was surprising. It came in up 0.3% in May. It was expected to be down 0.2%. So kind of showing that the U.S. consumer is still spending money, even though credit card debt is at all-time highs, even though student loan payments are getting ready to begin, even though rent is at all-time highs, mortgage rates are over 7%. Like, this just tells me that the U.S. consumer is kind of stupid.
Oh, I could have told you that before this show even started, right? Just absolutely insane that people are, and again, it's not a bullish sign either. The fact that people are, buying right now as inflation is coming down. It's just like, this isn't something that's going to help the Fed, in their case against, rising prices. I mean, if there's still demand, then obviously the price is going to remain elevated, right? It's just supply and demand, how it works. But if we saw that they were, backing off a little bit and then there's more supply, then obviously prices would level out a little bit better. But yeah, that's just, I don't know, man. Like you said, we got the student loan payments that are going to be starting up very soon. just seems like people are spending money that they don't have, and just adding to that $1 trillion market cap of consumer
Seems
debt.
that way because it is that way, right?
Yeah, I'm
Like, and
trying
you
to be
can see
kind
that with
here.
the fact that credit card debt is over $1 trillion for the first time. I will say, out of all the data points we've gotten recently, producer price index is one of the most of these are backward looking, but that's actually like a forward looking one, and that does, if that number holds, if it's not revised higher, that would give me a little bit of confidence that maybe we are moving in the right direction with inflation. If producers, but here's the thing: is does that decrease in producer price help the consumer, or do companies just leave prices higher to help their own margin? And that's the question right now, and that's something that is really hurting inflation in the economy. Is a lot of these companies are, they got their mandate, like the Fed has their mandate. Well, guess what? These companies have a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders, and if they can manage to kick that savings back into their margin and not pass it on to consumers without hurting their sales volume, they're going to do that. So that is one thing that worries me: is are the savings by producers and the savings by these companies are getting, are they being shared with consumers, or is it like, nope, we want to keep our margins high, we want to keep our numbers looking good when we have earnings every quarter, and that could really be another problem long term.
Yeah, is that not what's happening now? Obviously, everyone's all about earnings, and it's like everyone's just trying to make sure that they look great so that people buy the stock even more. Uh, Seems that
Well,
way.
people buy the stock so that people keep their jobs. Like, a lot of these people, they don't want to lose their job.
No, not at all.
They got a good setup, and they want to make sure that if they can, keep the shareholders happy, they're not going anywhere. So it's a really interesting dynamic. It once again shows how, greed is just, you got to look out for yourself here, because no one else is going to do it for you. So
Yeah,
make the right financial decisions for yourself. Do what you got to do to, like, I compare this time to like the NCAA tournament. You got to survive in advance. Okay. You got to scrap and claw and do whatever you have to move forward and to set yourself up for success in the future. So that is what we were trying to do here.
definitely. Yeah, it's a good analogy. Just follow everybody till you make it to the top.
I'm not going to go that far.
The ref
I'm
doesn't
not.
see it doesn't count. That's CZ's what he called motto
Oh
for the
God.
time being.
Yeah. All right. That guy. All right. Let's look at, that is really all we have on the data side. There's not too much going down tomorrow. We just have consumer sentiment and Fed Governor Waller speaking. I'm kind of looking ahead. Next week's kind of boring too. So I'm not. So we think like that.
Like
But
last week, the last time was crazy.
yeah, we've had, every now and then we get a crazy week, but a lot of these weeks where we aren't getting new data hasn't been providing as much excitement. But let's look at some of the charts. We don't need to drag this out too long today. Let's kind of see how things are looking here. Like we say, crypto got beat over the head yesterday. Let's start with the DXY, and then we can move into crypto.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we're looking at the DXY, we've seen that we're getting a pretty red day. This is on the weekly, but let's look at the daily. Obviously, the daily's coming down. I was actually really surprised that we lost this 50 moving average here, right? Obviously, I still think it's going to come up and go above the 200 EMA, which would be the bullish golden cross. But today we took a pretty big leg down. And what could that possibly be? Maybe it's just treasury yields dropping a little bit. I think gold is something's going on with gold. Yeah, it's up right now about 15. But yeah, it's right now. I think that the dollar is just losing a little bit of strength going into, it seems like the summer months, but I think this is just kind of like a 1 day thing. You know what I mean? Like this could be some news that came out, and then
I think it's also related to the euro. Like if you look at the euro versus dollar, it spiked up in favor of the euro.
Yeah.
Right. So I think part with, with the ECB raising rates today, that's going to favor the euro. And I think that is what's leading to a bit of a sell-off in the dollar today.
For sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. It's complete inverse of each other. Yeah, so I wouldn't be too cautious when it comes to the DXY. I still believe in this. Obviously there's there's pretty good support right here. That's at 102.035. That's 0.3 points away from where we are currently. So I could definitely see us closing the week off this, maybe wicking off of it and then shooting up. And then going into next week and, next few months, we're obviously, we're climbing up. I think that we are going to be climbing up soon. This is, like you said, the euro being green today. I'm not surprised that people are moving funds out of there and putting into somewhere where they're going to possibly make a little bit more money. But again, this is not something that I'm expecting to be a long-term play. If we look at the weekly, obviously the weekly's coming down too. So as this is closing out towards the week, I expect this to come down considerably. And obviously this weekly close will bring us out of the overbought territory and allow us, room to go further to the upside. And, my target remains 105.651. I think that this is a target that we're, in line to make. Again, lower high, lower low. We did a double bottom here. So this is extreme support, but this is also, somewhat of a parallel channel. Probably find that in the lower time frames where, we're likely to jump from here. So I'm not too surprised that this is the formation we're making on the weekly. And again, if we look at the monthly, we got plenty of room to the upside. We are completely undervalued. So the dollar, again, still looks strong. We just got to, point out days when it drops here. And there's not too much other than the dollar. I think that this is also part of the reason why, TradFi is maybe pumping up a little bit further today too. Dollars down, risk assets go up. It's the way it works. Not necessarily for crypto today though, right? Crypto's definitely seeing a little bit of red. So before we get into some of the crypto charts, I just want to pull up something on CoinGlass. And this would be the liquidation levels that we've seen in the past 24 hours. All right, here we are. So this is the heat map. We can see that in the past 24 hours, the entire crypto market, we saw $163.45 million completely wiped from the space. Obviously, that was from Bitcoin dropping from around 26 to a little under 25 currently. Bitcoin's price is hovering around 25. Again, we talked about in the show yesterday, 25,280 being an extreme level of support. If we broke under that, there's a good chance that we're going to be moving further, and the Bitcoin dominance would be climbing as a result of that. And that's what we saw yesterday after the show. And if we look at the Bitcoin, we got $46.87 million with liquidations in the past 24 hours, 42 of which are long positions that got wiped out, 4.74 were our shorts that were probably opening up too late and the price pushed up. Again, people using leverage that they're absolutely just hurting themselves at this point. It seems like a lot of these are absolute long liquidations. Only a few were absolutely short liquidations. So nothing too crazy here. Obviously, ETH leading the pack. It's a pretty good amount, $60.79 million worth of liquidations, 55 of which were longs. So longs got hurt on this one, right? Is what it is. I think that's just telling you that the trend was to the downside. Now, the question here is this the end of the structure? Are we done seeing the liquidations where longs are absolutely screwed over and the price goes short? I don't know. Let's see. Let's pull up charts for Bitcoin. We're going to pull up BTC dominance, look at a few of these things. But for Bitcoin, we can see here. Let's pull this up. It's under 25,280. And again, yesterday we were talking about that being a key level of support. Don't mind the craziness that's around here. Let's just go to the daily. I know. I gotta get my life together, JWeb. I'm just gonna hide this. But see, this makes sense to me. So
it's a fucking Willy Wonka chart over here, man.
Willy Wonka chart, yeah. So as you can see, next to the third Oompa Loompa over here, you could find the 50 and the 200 EMA. But so we broke. So the key things for me is that we closed below the 200 EMA, right, on the daily. So that tells me that we're kind of bearish right now. Also, we can see that the 50 is actually getting closer. So we might see a death cross coming soon, but that is one thing that we need to keep in mind is that the stochastic RSI is, oversold. It's a good chance that we could definitely bounce up from here, but I'm not confident in it. I think mainly because we have these gaps to fill and there's tons of liquidations that are down here. So for me, we look at this was a supply zone in the local top, this yellow zone right here, which pretty much means that people were willing to sell their Bitcoin up here and there wasn't a lot of buyers. So everyone that was selling up here was just outpacing the amount of buyers that there were. So price naturally comes down. And now we're trying to find where that demand zone is. And we're getting a little bit here and there. We're getting a little bit around the 200 EMA, people thinking that this is going to hold. Personally, I think a lot of people are expecting us to bounce from here. So that would be more for me to be, I'm more inclined to believe that we're going to go lower. It's going to be another similar thing that we saw yesterday where we're going to go see the price drop instead of, go up and then longs are benefiting. I think shorts are most likely going to benefit. I could be wrong, but I'm seeing tons of open interest, and I'm also seeing the funding rates not extremely negative. They are negative, but they're not negative to the point where, I'm going to see a massive short squeeze happen. What I'm seeing here is we're not having tons of volume on the daily. We're not able to hold the 50 or the 200 EMA. We're closing below them. We're still under the 200 EMA, which is absolutely surprising to me. Like usually when we see, these tested, like look, came down to the 200 EMA and we bounced up back in February. We came underneath back for SIVB, but again, once again, we bounced right off of it. We shot right through it. And that was just, 1-2 days that we had to worry about that. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. But for the most part, I think that our demand zone is down here. We've cleared this gap. Now we just have to get this fair value gap that's down here. And, then I think we're going to be able to see that bounce. I think the liquidations are not done, but, if this price does drop, likely we're going to see Bitcoin dominance rise again because alts are just going to naturally bleed. We can see that 49.17 is our, value right now. And we put, what was it? I think this was the L line that we put yesterday, 48.9. And we got pretty close to it yesterday at 48.94. So we did find some support on this level. So that bounced off of that. That's where we're able to push up a little bit further. Do I think we're done? No, I don't think we're done with Bitcoin dominance rising. And again, I'm going to go over to the next chart, which is just as important for me. I don't think we're done with USDT dominance. I think that Tether dominance is going to continue to rise. We shot up a huge amount yesterday. So right after the show, we went from roughly being around like 8.15 to 8.45. We're currently at 8.45. The height of it was 8.52. So we definitely see that people are moving in the stables. And that's also part of the reason why Bitcoin's price is so stagnant around this 25 level. We see tons of money in stables on the side in reserves, and they're not being pushed into the market. So people are being risk off right now, even though they have some, Tether on hand. It's less of a risk than if we look at Bitcoin or any of these other altcoins. They're absolutely bleeding. So USDT dominance and Bitcoin dominance are absolutely leading to wreckage in the alt market. You'd see that, we're starting to see some red for Matic. It's down about, where is it? It went to 67 after it bounced from the low on, what was it, last Friday? And now we're down below 60 cents again. If we look at BNB, we climbed all the way up to about 248, and then we got rejected. And our low this morning was 230. And Cardano, once again, we're starting to see a little bit more of a dip here. We climbed up to
Cardano's dead.
28, 29. I mean, I have a short on Cardano, so if it wants to be dead until I buy in, totally fine with that. That's definitely how the market works. It's just whenever I buy in, it decides to go up. But no, I'm just kidding. With Cardano, obviously this is another alt that's just being wrecked. Ethereum, this is one that we were talking about yesterday. This is bearish too. We didn't look at the daily chart, but we broke below the 200 EMA on the daily. We're gonna get a death cross for Ethereum soon, right? And then I think yesterday we were talking about the weekly, how this 200 EMA down here on the weekly is going to be our target. We're not too far now, are we? Yesterday where were we yesterday? We're in the 17s, right? Today, not so much. We are in 1645. We wicked all the way down to about 1624. So we were about like $30 away from hitting the 200 EMA. I do believe that's going to hit. As we can see, the stochastic RSI on the daily is still not oversold completely. It's heading there. And then once it's down there, it's likely to stay down there for maybe a day or two. On the weekly, we'll find some support or whatever. But on the daily, let's pull that up. Yeah, see, we're completely oversold on the daily, and we're under the 200 EMA. So a little bit more of a push, I think, to the downside for this one, especially if Bitcoin dominance remains high, Tether dominance remains high. Now, the question I have is regarding something I saw this morning. So this is unrelated to the price action, but it definitely tells me that there's going to be some short squeezes. I saw that, man, the lawnmowers are back. Saw that, I hate lawnmowers whenever I'm recording. All right, so True USD. I don't know if we talked about this in the past, but it is a stable coin that Binance had been using post Paxos, post BUSD, right? And this is a coin that I think it's on, the Tron network, Tron blockchain. It's on a few of them, but it's a stable coin. And I saw that Binance minted about $1 million worth of it this morning. Not a great look because I instantly know what's going to happen. I think that they're defending the price of, BUSD, and likely it's going to be. Man, hold on 1 second. 1 second.
All good. All All right, I'll vamp for a minute here while Kevin goes and deals with the sound of the lawnmowers. He is back. So that vamping worked out just right. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I couldn't even hear myself think. Let's see, TUSD. I'm going to pull up the chart real quick. This is, or no, I do have it up. So this is TUSD dominance, and I want to just point out some things. This is a wild chart because on the daily you can see this massive gap in between. This is probably just TUSD being minted, but this is Monday, March 13th, right? This is right around the time that's the week that SIVB happened, and we can see that out of nowhere it shoots up and then it comes down. So likely this is money that's being printed and then it's being put into the market to push the price up. That's just one thing that I noticed. If we look at the weekly chart, it's kind of sketchy too, right? And again, this is nothing. This is 0.21% of the entire market cap. However, it begins back in May of 2022. And we can see that, we're getting these gaps right here in key parts where the market's pulling up. So let me just pull up Bitcoin. Let's do same percentage scale. You can see that as the sell-off happens, Bitcoin's pumping up, and then we can even see kind of into it that the price is pushing up as we're depleting our reserves of TUSD. And we see Bitcoin's pushing up. Bitcoin's this orange chart down here. So what I'm seeing is that TUSD is being pushed into the price of Bitcoin, right? Now, I want to compare it today with, let's get rid of this. Let's compare it to Binance. I haven't checked this at all yet, so let's just see how it looks. USDT, go to Binance. And we can see that this is being minted as the price is coming down. This gives me some inclination that there's a potential squeeze coming on BNB, mainly because they're trying to protect that paywall. So if Binance gets below $223 and starts closing below that, that's bad news because that means you're likely not going to see support until about $150, $120 around there. And that's a massive gap, and that's a huge amount of liquidity that's going to absolutely be wiped from Binance. So seeing this morning, and I'm seeing a lot of things also happen. Like if I pull up, what's it, USDT, and then say Coinbase, USD pairing. This was, get rid of this. Now we don't need that. But this was depegging this morning, and a lot of people were flooding this. And we can see that it, depegged. It was at $1, went underneath. It was at 99.8 cents. A lot of people are talking about this, but they're not necessarily talking about True USD. True USD is the one I think people should be keeping an eye on because I think that's artificially pushing the market up again. And once again, it's Tron, Binance. They're the only ones that are using True USD. They're always the most sketchy people in the space. I'm not trying to create FUD, but I'm definitely saying keep an eye out for this stuff because I have not seen anything more suspicious than $1 billion printed out of thin air that are Binance now has in their reserves. And again, they're just open interest on Binance is going crazy, and BNB is actually holding up pretty well compared to some alts. Dropped down a little bit today, but I'm seeing that we could potentially see a little bit of a squeeze here, but depends. I don't know. I think a lot of people are opening up shorts. I can definitely tell the negative funding rates on Binance by itself are suggesting there might be a squeeze. So if you are opening shorts or anything like that, just be careful, be prepared that the price could go up a little bit. But again, I think that once this absolutely plays out, they're not going to have any money left to push the price up or prop it up. So they're going to likely have to sell. And again, today's Thursday, so we're going to find out what the SEC and Binance US came to the agreement on. So hopefully we get some news on that. That could be beneficial or terrible for Binance. We'll see. But yeah, we should have the answers that by the end of the day today. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That's all I got really today. Just keep an eye out for these prices. I think that we're still going down to 22, 23K. There's a lot of liquidity down there. That's where the 200 EMA is on the weekly for Bitcoin, or 50 EMA, my bad. So there's definitely a lot of things that are lining up. The numbers are adding up, and we're seeing that the money is moving from one asset to another. And we're also seeing money printed at thin air. So definitely a wild time in crypto. I think we're getting to a point where we are going to see, a bit more of a capitulation event. And yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm excited. I'm going to stop talking now because I've talked a lot about USDT and with lawnmowers going on. So it's all you, JWeb.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back tomorrow for a weekly close. Got to figure out, I think it's going to be at our usual time, but I got to confirm that with Kev, but we will put that out on Twitter. Follow at KShanNFT and at JWeb777. So appreciate everybody for being here. If you have not yet, there's some buttons down below. We appreciate you hitting the like, subscribe. If you can drop a comment, and if you can share us out on social media, all of that means a lot to us. So thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow for the weekly close.
Take care, everyone.